friends become partners in property developing on Homes Under the Hammer in 45 minutes. Will they still be speaking come the end of the renovation? First on BBC One, Louise Minchin and Gethin Jones with another look at modern-day policing.
Today on Crime and Punishment, a motorist who joins the 2,000 a year who end up in prison when they learn the hard way that drink and drugs don't go with driving.
And an all-night booze-up leads to a violent family fight and a trip to the custody suite.
All of you stay there. Calm down, mate.
In 1952, when the Queen came to the throne, the phrase social media didn't exist. Now she even has her own Facebook page. And the police can't afford to ignore Facebook or Twitter either.
Hi there, can you ask your mate just to come to the door then?
Why are you giving me duff details?
Policing our cities never stops, day and night, right around the clock.
He smelt some alcohol. He's provided a positive breath test.
In Birmingham South, Bourneville Police Station is the nerve centre of operations.
So he was located outside the premises? Yeah.
Everyone arrested ends up here, and it's been like that for the last 60 years. But today is a bit different. For the next 24 hours, each detail of what goes on in this Bourneville station will be recorded on Twitter for a special police tweetathon. It's a modern-day attempt to involve the surrounding community in what goes on at their local nick. It all kicked off at 7 a.m. Darren Colley is the communications officer who's doing the tweeting.
This morning we've had various different incidents, everything ranging from a drive off at a petrol station. We've had parking problems where a vehicle has been causing an obstruction. Officers have gone out and ticketed that vehicle. We've had some fail to appear warrants where officers have been at the premises arresting people who have failed to appear for issues such as shop theft, criminal damage, assault, all of which has been relayed to our followers.
Sergeant Vanessa Isles and her team are about to serve one of those arrest warrants and bring in the person who's failed to appear at court.
The warrant was issued by the courts just 4 days ago because this woman failed to appear for a matter of theft, which was connected to what we called a domestic-related incident.
First, they need to get into the woman's flat.
Hello, you're right. It's nothing to worry about. We're just trying to get through to a flat above the bookies. How do we get there?
You know, at the front, there's some wooden gates.
Yes.
You've got to go through those gates.
OK.
Yeah, he has a dog as well, so be careful.
OK, thank you for the information about the dog.
Okay.
Thank you. Right, apparently they've got a dog. One of the blokes said, yeah, he's got a dog, so there's obviously a male here as well.
No, sorry to bother you.
Okay,
All right.
nice and calm.
Is okay from Bourneville?
Hi, you all right? Do you want to take the dog away?
The dog seems harmless, but to be on the safe side, he's locked away. The woman is soon found. She's arrested on the fail to appear for a theft charge warrant, and she's brought out to the police van.
Hopefully this message will go out to the community of Birmingham South that we do execute our warrants, and reinforces that people need to comply with bail conditions and abide by those instructions given by the courts.
And Darren makes sure the arrest gets tweeted.
Police emergency. Hello, Amber. You've got a report of a stabbing. How many patients, please? One patient. Male, 18 years.
In the control room, emergency calls are coming in thick and fast, and it's their responsibility to dispatch officers on the ground to each job. Darren Basterfield and James Debuse from the local policing unit are out in a patrol car. They head for the house knowing they could be walking into a dangerous situation.
We're literally around the corner, so we'll be there within seconds, pretty much, or within minutes. Depending on how the person's within the address act towards us, we have obviously got the option of taser to use.
they arrive to a scene of chaos.
Just want to come outside for us, chap. Dog okay? Yeah, no, what's happened? What's happened? I don't know. Who must speak to? Who's called us? Mark, who's called us?
No.
Who's called us? What's happened?
I stabbed him in there.
Right, who's been stabbed? Where you been stabbed? Good. Show me, lift your top up. I'm alright. Turn round. Where's his knife? Where's the knife? I'm alright. Where's the knife?
It seems that the people in the house have been drinking all night, ending up in a fracas where a young man has got a minor injury from a knife wielded by his girlfriend.
Where did you say you stabbed him? Whereabouts? Top of the arm? That what you done? And with what? Scratched me. And what? For what reason? Pardon?
The officers are trying to calm things down. They want to keep the two people involved away from each other.
Just step outside here so I can just search you. Have you got anything in your pockets? No.
But just as things seem to be under control, the injured man's family, who live around the corner, get wind of what's happened and turn up outside. And we'll see later how things go from bad to worse.
Stay there. Politicians may be calling for prisoners to be made to work harder whilst they're inside. But the problem is, how do you get work for the prison workshops when there isn't enough to go around on the outside?
The idea is to provide hard work in prison so that prisoners will be doing something productive instead of doing nothing.
For Kenneth Clark, the business of prisons is to stop re-offending. And he believes the way to do it is to get prisoners to work 40 hours a week and learn to live a normal life.
It's not rocket science, actually.
At Bristol, the new policy is already underway.
It's important for prisoners to work while they're in prison, so they have something meaningful to do to take up their time while they're here, but also so that they build the essential skills that they need to move into employment when they get released. So we give them the opportunity for rehabilitation.
Work's not easy to find, even beyond the gate. So it's a big job tempting companies to use prison labour.
Okay.
It's Nikki Secker, the prison's head of business development, who has to bring in the contracts to keep the workshops working. And today she's holding an open day for local firms.
What we're now offering is actually a commercially viable solution in terms of your own business models. And that's what we're going to be able to demonstrate today.
Next, the honoured guests are taken on a tour of the prison's workshops. It's absolutely critical that they should like what they see.
Previously, when we'd approach businesses, we were very much going and asking for something. We were asking for a commercial company to offer employment opportunities on release. And that's the major shift, because we're now coming to the table saying, yes, I still would like you to take on ex-offenders on release, but also what I can do is offer a very competitive solution to your business needs.
We want to employ more prisoners and generate more revenue and deliver more skills, and we can't do that on our own.
But even in a recession, there's still work that is so labour intensive that British businesses can't afford to do it in the UK.
Well, typically it might be being done in the Far East, so it would be assembly work that, because of our cost structure in the UK, generally has migrated elsewhere. That type of thing could potentially be done here.
Earning money to pay back to victims, instead of dreaming of creating more victims in future crime.
But there's another side to Ken Clark's agenda. It's not just about making offenders employable by giving them work inside the prisons, it's making them employable on the outside. And current figures suggest that almost 75% of ex-offenders have no work. They need to find someone who's willing to give them a job. Adam Chame is one of more than 150 former prisoners who are working for the Timpson shoe repair and key cutting chain. It's a family business, and Managing Director James Timpson is sure that employing ex-offenders makes business sense.
We've got dozens of superstars we've recruited from prison, and what we find is they're confident, they're bright, they have a real urge to prove to lots of people that they deserve a chance and that they're going to make a success of their life.
But what about the risks?
The advantage I have when I recruit an ex-offender is I know what I'm getting, because I know their full history, I get the full chapter and verse from the prison, so I know what I'm dealing with, rather than people lying on their application form, which I'm afraid is all too common. Since we've been recruiting ex-offenders, we've doubled the number of shops, we've doubled our profits, and we've doubled the number of people that we employ. So putting all that together, I believe it's good for our business.
James Timpson is so convinced of the benefits of employing ex-offenders that he, together with business leaders like Richard Branson, signed a joint letter to the Financial Times on the subject.
If we want to reduce crime, we need to reduce the number of criminals. The single most effective way of doing this is to get them into lawful, constructive employment.
Adam Chain would agree with every word.
You start off emptying bins and sweeping floor, and you build yourself up to a level that I'm happy with. Shop manager, a bit higher than that. I'll be happy running my own shop. You can go up and up and up and up and up.
But all of these benefits to businesses, to society and to ex-offenders will come only if enough offenders learn how to work when they're inside. Which brings us back to Bristol.
I think it's very positive. Very positive for the prisoners, very positive for business. I believe the business model that's been developed is very strong.
What I've seen is that each prison differs in what they can offer. HMP Bristol has been brilliant in showing us what they give back to prison inmates. But likewise, it gives them an opportunity to find work and get a vocational skill, which actually will help them.
I think the day's been a great success. I think we've been able to open people's eyes to the fact that the prison service has dramatically changed.
And the prison's marketing efforts have paid off. Since the open day, 2 new contracts, one for making tables and another for recycling, are in discussion. Mr. Clark will be delighted.
When there's an incident on the road and someone is hurt, the first job of the police is to make the area safe and get the traffic moving again. In some cases, what starts as an accident location becomes the scene of a crime. West Midlands Police Collision Investigation Unit was set up in 2010. If they get called to a car accident, it means it's so serious that someone is likely to die as a result of it, or, at the very least, someone's life will be changed forever by it. The CCTV footage you're about to see will make you think twice before ever breaking the speed limit. It's shocking, but it provided vital evidence for the police. It shows the precise moment when a woman was hit by a car. On Christmas Eve 2010, this 23-year-old woman was walking home from work. She was hit by a drunk driver doing nearly 60 miles an hour on an icy residential street. She survived the impact but is still receiving treatment for serious head injuries. This is the story of the investigation and how modern technology brought the driver to justice. Graham Harrison from the West Midlands Police Collision Investigation Unit was in charge of the case.
The road had been closed by our colleagues from the local area, and I could see straight away that there was a body lying in the road being tended to by a number of paramedics and doctors. There was a vehicle parked, a silver VW Golf, in the middle of the road at a sort of 70-degree angle, which was obviously the collision vehicle because I could see apparent damage to the front of it.
At this stage, it seemed unlikely that the woman would survive. Graham began gathering evidence for what he believed would become a fatal accident.
We're looking for skid marks, damage to the vehicle itself, road surface, basically anything that we can find, debris that might give you an idea of where the person had been stood when the vehicle collided with them. 25 years ago, officers would come down to a scene such as this with tape measures, and they would have to do what we call chain and offset, measure across the road and along a datum line, write it all down and then go back to the office and, like a draftsman, then draw a plan to scale. These days we have advanced surveying equipment which allows us to set the gear up and then go along and do hundreds of points, then feed it into a computer, and it will provide us with a scale plan that's accurate to millimetres.
And from the very start, it was clear that CCTV footage would play a vital role in the investigation.
Back in the 1980s, you were very pleased if you got a VHS video with a blurry image on it. These days, with digital imagery, recording systems, one of the first questions we're asking is how many frames there are per second, because you can work things out if you know the timings. On this occasion, fortunately, everything was being recorded on a digital recorder.
As well as having the footage, one man saw the whole thing. Patrick Baggott was taking his children to the circus as a Christmas treat. He was driving carefully because of the freezing conditions.
It's a real bad cold snap. So my son was sitting there and the other little fella was in his seat at the back. As you can see the size of the road, and it was like just pure ice. As I drove down here, I've seen the girl on my left-hand side walking towards me.
Patrick had to swerve to avoid another car coming in the opposite direction.
This is the point here now where I've had to slide to move over to the side, as he was bombing up there, flying really basically.
The next few minutes will stay with him forever.
I looked in the mirror and that's when I seen her flying through the air.
Patrick stopped to see if he could do anything. Only a few months before, one of his best friends had been knocked down and killed by a car.
As I got out, I slipped a little bit, so I run up towards him, told him that he was driving, called him a few more choice words, and then told him he was driving way too fast. And with that, he started crying, and I said, "Is she all right?" He says, "I think so."
With the CCTV footage, a clear eyewitness account and precise measurements from the scene, Graham could begin to piece together what had happened.
Time now for our second look at Bourneville Police Station, where they're still recording the day's events on the web. And things are hotting up as they try to sort out a domestic incident that spilled onto the street.
Ladies, go home and we'll bring him to you.
On a housing estate in Birmingham, there's a real rumpus going on. The mother and two sisters of the young man attacked by his girlfriend have turned up and start pitching in.
Joe, who are they? What are you doing? Oh, what are you doing? Oh, what are you doing? Joe, what are you doing? Who are they?
James has taken hold of the older sister's arm to keep her away from her brother.
Joe, stand still, mate. Stand still.
The officers are doing their best to keep things calm, but all members of the family have lost their tempers, and the youngest sister has decided to take it out on the police.
There's a dirty that's a dirty
Meanwhile, the young man has decided to show the police previous wounds he's allegedly sustained from his clearly rocky relationship.
Stay there. All of you stay there.
The young sister is handcuffed and led away. Her brother has now broken down in tears over his girlfriend.
You nearly killed me about a year and a half. Don't nearly kill me. I know, mate. 3 millimeters from my heart. And he died.
Of course, that's just his side of the story.
It's escalated from being a domestic type incident. Obviously, both parties have had a few drinks, even though it's only just gone 11 o'clock in the morning. And obviously, family members very agitated, getting involved and making matters 10 times worse. So.
The young man has said he doesn't want to go to hospital to be checked over. For his own safety, he'll be taken to his other sister's house, well away from the area. The younger sister is taken off to the police station to be questioned. Darren keeps all the Twitter followers informed of the disturbance. Superintendent Peter Blackburn is doing his rounds of the station. Just for today, he'll be sending a record of all his activities to Darren to be tweeted.
So I'm just going to the custody block next to review what prisoners we've got down there, to see if there's anyone I need to authorise to be in detention longer than 24 hours. I'll just drop in there just to see how things are going now and again. This will be automatically picked up by Darren over here. He'll be able to retweet that and send it back out to all the followers for Birmingham South.
Everyone who's arrested on Pete's Patch gets brought into custody.
We need to try and establish the truth, basically. So we have to interview the people, and then on a lot of the times people don't tell us the truth, so we have to try and find evidence to establish whether they're guilty or not. all the evidence capture's done here, so we do DNA if someone's reported or charged, and we also do photographs and we do fingerprints as well. What's important to mention is not everybody who comes in here is guilty, so we treat everybody fairly and transparently.
And just being checked in is our young woman who went for the police officer in the street. She's much calmer now.
So she tried pushing past you in order to get to the anything being said at the time, right?
No, just lots of shouting.
She'll be thoroughly searched before being taken to the cells. Fahan Din is the arresting officer.
She's pushed past me, and that was clearly an act of antagonisation to occur. In an effort to pull her back and keep her where she was at a safe distance from the other officer, she's then pushed me up against the little side wall. Once that's happened, I've arrested her on suspicion of assaulting a constable. She's then continued to be verbally abusive towards us and the other officers. Small struggles taking place. She's been handcuffed and then taken away. Once it gets physical, you've got no choice but to get hands on and make them understand what they've done is wrong.
The day's moving on and the cells are filling up. The tweetathon log records everything. 60 years ago, no one could have imagined this kind of instant communication would be possible. As darkness falls, another operation swings into action. We'll be out on the road with them as the tweetathon continues.
"60 years ago, there were only 1,100 female prisoners in the system. Now that number has quadrupled, and the number of women officers working in prisons has grown even faster. I'd like to introduce you to Lorna and Nikki. First question, guys. Do I address you by your first names, or Mom or Miss?
Lorna's fine for me.
Nikki's fine for me.
Okay, good. I just wanted to get out of the way. Nikki, tell me what it's like being a female prison officer in a male jail.
I think that the most important thing is for any individual is how they work in establishment. It's irrelevant what sex they are, whether male or female. It's what skills you bring to the job. And that's the most important thing. So you want people from a wide range of the society, and we just happen to be two of those people.
And Lorna, do you find that you get a different reaction to some of the male officers, or is that just a myth?
No, I would say it's definitely a myth, and I agree with Nikki. It's actually about the skills that you bring to the job. So it's about the attitude and the values and how you treat people who are in prison. So if you treat people with respect, you will get respect back, and it really is as simple as that.
And I'm sure a lot of women maybe who are watching probably think, wow, it's quite a scary job, quite an intimidating job to do. Do you feel scared when you walk up and down the wings?
No, absolutely not, and it goes back to that previous comment about treating people with respect, and it's about having great relationships with the staff that you work with, but also good relationships with prisoners. People used to say to me, it must be a really scary job, but I'd say back to them, actually, I feel safer walking down the wing of a prison than I do walking down the street at night sometimes. So.
And Nikki, you'd agree with that?
Yeah, I think the difference is when you're in an establishment, whichever one it is, we know the risks and we manage the risks. So we're far more in control of the environment, which results in it being far safer than when you're in the outside community where you can't control those risks and you're actually not even aware of what they are a lot of the time.
Thank you very much for your time. Lovely to meet you. And I actually might just call you Mum and Mum, out of respect.
Please not.
Yes, don't.
Earlier in the programme, we saw West Midlands collision investigator Graham Harrison collecting evidence at the scene of a serious road accident in Birmingham. Now he's got to put it all together to find out exactly what happened. When a young woman was run over by a car and almost killed on Christmas Eve 2010, Graham Harrison from the West Mids Police Collision Investigation Unit had the job of putting together a picture of exactly what had occurred. As well as an eyewitness account, he had CCTV footage from 4 different cameras.
Looking at camera 1, you see the pedestrian appear from the bottom left-hand corner of the screen and start to cross the road. She gets to over 3/4 of the way across when you see Mr. Shanahan's car come into view from the left-hand side and collide with her. At this point, it's already lost control. It's going sideways down the street. Looking at camera number 5, you can see she gets flung down the road surface towards us. As you click through, you actually see as she slides down the road, and actually out of camera shot she slides so far. This all happens in less than 10 seconds.
Graham can click through the recording frame by frame to find the precise point of impact.
You can actually see the car touching the pedestrian's leg. So from this, we can actually pinpoint the exact point of the collision. You can then work out how fast the car was travelling when it hit the pedestrian.
4 clear skid marks at the site of the crash provided more evidence.
Now we can measure those using surveying equipment and a prism, and then later on we can take those measurements, apply equations of motion to them, and they will tell us how fast the vehicle was travelling at the start of those skid marks.
So it was down to old-fashioned maths to work out the speed the car was travelling when it hit the woman. The figures were checked and double-checked by the collision team. There was no doubt that the driver was way over the speed limit.
We can prove at the start of the skid marks that he was doing not less than 57 miles an hour. He's then skidded, lost a bit of speed, and actually collided at about 40 miles an hour.
As well as the tyre marks, the position of every piece of debris is recorded. From this data collected at the crash site, computer software can recreate a detailed picture of the incident.
So you've got the skid marks, and the computer tells it to put it in as skid marks. All the various cars showing which direction they were facing, the debris field, and you can highlight the different types of debris there were by using different colours. And then you've got the red mark at the end, which shows where she came to rest.
And this can then produce an animated version of the crash.
You can actually look at it from any angle you wish. So, as you can see, you've got the skid marks are already laid down on the road surface to give an idea of what's going to happen. She starts to cross the road. The vehicle comes into sight and follows the skid marks exactly, and the blood spot shows where she ended up.
With all the evidence gathered and processed, Lawrence Shanahan appeared in court to face charges of dangerous driving. On top of the speeding, he also had well over the limit of alcohol in his blood. Had the woman died, the driver could have served up to 14 years in prison.
Under current legislation, the maximum we can do is dangerous driving, which is 2 years.
He received a 16-month prison sentence and a 4-year driving ban. The young woman is recovering, but will still have to undergo months of surgery.
If he'd been doing 20 miles an hour, he wouldn't have even hit her. When you're driving a car, you're driving a lethal weapon. You're driving half a ton of metal. You've got to concentrate on the job in hand. You've got to be aware of what you're doing and what other people are doing, not thinking about what you're going to do at the end of the journey. You've got to keep your mind on the job.
Here in the control room at Birmingham Central Police Station, they don't just deal with CCTV, they also take non-emergency calls from the public. The man who knows all about it is Inspector Andy Bridgewater. Just tell us a little about, you've got a new service, haven't you, 101. So what is it?
Well, 101 is hopefully a memorable number that people can use as an alternative to 999 if it's not an emergency.
OK, so what kind of things should they call 999 for, and then what's the difference?
If there's a crime in action, if you're witnessing a crime unfold in front of you, you're a witness to something happening there and then, that's an emergency, and you should phone 999.
And 101?
And 101 is if there's a long ongoing issue, or if it's a crime that's already happened that you need to report, then we can tailor the best police response to that, and it might not be an immediate one.
OK, and I know you get some really kind of time-wasting calls as well. What sort of examples have you had here?
A recent one was a gentleman phoned to say his brother hadn't invited him to a wedding, and he abused the 999 system by calling us for that.
So he called 999 just because he hadn't been invited to his brother's wedding?
Yeah.
And that's not just the end of it, is it?
No, it's not. I mean, very, very common calls are people contacting us on 999 to say they've run out of credit on their phone. Clearly that clogs up the emergency network and stops real emergencies getting through and will hamper our response.
And the other thing you've noticed as well, I know, is there's a sort of generational issue, because perhaps the older generation don't even call for emergencies anyway, is that right?
Yeah, there is. I mean, there certainly are people that don't want to bother us with stuff. Well, clearly if your house is getting broken into, then that's exactly the kind of thing the police should be responding to immediately.
Quite right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Over the past 40 minutes or so, we've been watching the work of one police station in Birmingham as they mount a 24-hour tweetathon on the social network site Twitter. Darkness is falling and it's moving into its closing stages, but there's still plenty to tell their thousands of followers.
It's just another night at Bourneville Police Station. Officers are going about their duties. However, tonight, everything they do is being tweeted on the West Mids Police website. It's the most up-to-date way for the police to keep in touch with the public.
I know from my own 15-year-old daughter that it's a part of daily life, particularly for younger people. In fact, if their phone breaks or doesn't work or they drop it, it's like part of their life, a part of their body's been cut off. So, you know, we're here to police the community and represent them and protect them. And if we don't move with the times and actually communicate in a way that the community are communicating, then we're just going to get left behind.
An operation has been set up on one of the main roads out of Birmingham. It's all part of their Drink Drive campaign.
We're working with Force Traffic today. They're out in the road stopping their vehicles for us. They're just picking up to half a dozen vehicles randomly and then directing them onto the forecourt here where local officers are just speaking to the drivers and making aware of what we're doing today. But we're also looking at doing voluntary breath tests with people, whether it be a passenger in the car or the driver themselves. If they've had a drink, they may want to know what the actual limits are, so it's just an opportunity for them as well to go through the procedure if they want to voluntarily.
Don't stop, just I'll tell you when to stop, okay?
As they check this car, they get a strong smell of cannabis coming from it. It's enough to warrant a search of both driver and passenger. It seems history may repeat itself as the police have found 2 bags of marijuana. But that's not all.
We have a couple of small amounts of herbal cannabis from the car. And the passenger has got a lock knife on them as well, which is an offensive weapon.
There are more offensive weapons in the back of the car. Keith Bennett and Drugs Dog H have been called in.
We use this type of dog because they're so agile and they're the right size to use in vehicles. You can see he's extremely enthusiastic, energetic, and he can get into the smallest of areas.
H makes short work of the small car.
I'm happy with that. An officer's done a physical. We've now put the dog in. We're happy that the car's now clear and there's no further drugs inside the vehicle.
The driver and passenger are arrested and taken back to the station. It's all added to the Twitter log. The operation continues. This man tested clear, but it was extremely close.
I'm interested from the point of view, having had a beer at lunchtime, that you can come out and I've still got something in the system, which I wouldn't have given it a thought. Would not have given. I mean, I wouldn't have had a beer after work and come out under any circumstances this time of the year. So very, very surprising.
The legal limit is 35 micrograms of alcohol. Anyone over that will be taken back to the station. This man has blown way over the limit.
The guy says he's had alcohol the last 2 hours. He smelt some alcohol and he's provided a positive breath test. He's blown, the roadside is blown a reading of 52. Legal limit is 35. So anything over 35, they get arrested and taken back to the police station. At the police station, if they blow over 40, they will be offered a blood test or a blood option. If they blow between 40 and 50, that is. If they blow anything over 50, it's a charge and go to court in a week's time.
By the end of the night, the operation has had good results.
A very successful day, really. We've had just under 200 cars stopped today. We've had 4 prisoners in, we've had 2 for drink drive, and we've had 2 in for offensive weapons and drugs as well.
The public appear happy too with the crackdown.
It's a very good campaign. We can find out some people who don't know what are the perils of drink and driving. So I'm a GP myself, so I would definitely encourage it.
It's nice and high profile so people can see what's going on.
and it makes people stop and think.
Very good idea, yeah. Oh well, shouldn't drink and drive, should you?
The 24 hours are up. Thanks to the tweetathon, there's a complete record of everything that has gone through Bournville Police Station. 270 calls for help, 24 arrests, 200 tweets. The number of police Twitter followers has also gone up to 4,000.
It's a busy place, it doesn't stop, it runs 24 hours a day, and we've got police officers coming in and out of here continually, all doing different sorts of roles. But the one thing in common with all of them is they're here to make a difference, and they're here to try and protect the community and work with them.
These fantastic-looking cars were on parade in 1954 for an inspection by the newly crowned Queen Elizabeth II. And amazingly, this magnificent beast is still on the road. Oh, what a fantastic car, what a fantastic noise. Thank you very much. So this was one of the original police cars. It's a Wolseley, and Steve knows lots about these kind of cars. Tell me, what were its kind of defining features?
Well, probably the big illuminated Wolseley badge on the grille, which terrified the public.
Did it? Well, they'd drive up behind them and they'd be really worried about it.
Yeah, if you saw one of those coming up in your rearview mirror, then you'd know you were being followed by the police.
And when were these used then?
From about 1953 until about 58, 59, somewhere around then.
So a seriously beautiful car. And were they fast or not?
Well, we wouldn't think so today, but I mean then, 53, about 80 miles an hour.
OK, and they eventually had to be replaced because of the speed issues, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
To something which I prefer even more than that. This is a beautiful car, a Daimler Dart.
Yes.
Why did these come into service?
Well, the Met Police in particular had a problem with a group called Cafe Racers.
Yes.
Which are basically rockers who would soup up their motorbikes, their Nortons and their Triumphs, and they'd race from the local cafe, the Ace Cafe in North London in particular, around a series of roundabouts and get back to the cafe.
Well, they put a piece of music on the jukebox.
That's right. Yep. And they had to get back to the cafe before the record finished.
So this, how fast did it go then?
120 miles an hour.
Gosh.
Which...
you would never imagine a police officer driving this kind of car now, because for starters, it's
sadly no.
It's convertible, isn't it?
Yes. And they had to drive them with the hood down.
Oh my goodness. And then this came into being, didn't it?
Yes, the Panda car.
The Panda car, look at it.
The original Panda.
Sky blue. Why did we call them pandas if they were sky blue?
Well, when these were first introduced in 1965, all the photos that appeared in the papers were in black and white. And a journalist coined the expression that they look like pandas. And it's stuck ever since.
Walk us through it. I mean, it's tiny for starters. We had one of these when I was growing up, and we used to fit 3 kids in the back. But how do you put criminals in the back of this?
Well, we did.
You worked in one of these,
Minis were the first Pandas I ever drove.
Yeah.
And we did. We used to put prisoners in the back. And,
let's have a listen to the siren on this one as well.
Slightly different with the 2 tones.
Oh, it's straight out of a film, isn't it? So those obviously had their particular purpose, and then we got sort of quite a different looking car, didn't we?
Yes, very much so. This is a Jaguar XJ6 from 1983, 84. And this is one of the sort of standard motorway patrol cars for the whole of the UK, really.
And we had the Panda, we know why that was named it. This was called a jam sandwich.
Yes, well, for obvious reasons, really. You don't really need to explain it, do you?
No.
But it was a sort of standard livery for most UK forces right up until about the mid-1990s.
Presumably a nice car to drive, though. Was it reliable or not?
It wasn't the most reliable car on the road, but when it was going, it was lovely to drive.
They are more reliable now.
Certainly are.
Here comes the modern version. Thank you very much, Steve.
Pleasure.
So, yes, straight into 2012. Hi there, Neil. Thank you very much. Oh, that's very loud. I'll let you get out, shall I? Nice piece of kit.
Thank you.
Yeah, nice piece of kit, this one?
It is, yes, definitely.
Talk us through it. It's a Jaguar. It's very fast, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Jaguar XF 3 litre, about 150, 160 miles an hour.
150 miles an hour. How does it feel driving it at that speed?
It's nice and comfy, to be fair. We've all done driving courses to be able to drive at that speed.
Because, of course, nobody's allowed to do that in any sense. So.
No.
Tell us about other things as well, because we've got cameras, we've got all sorts of kit on it, haven't you?
It's fitted with automatic number plate recognition, the ANPR system. That reads all the vehicles that pass us using the camera at the back.
So there's a camera there, and that goes, from there the shots go into your
Into a computer?
That's correct. They come up on the computer screen
Yeah.
and give us the information of the vehicles that pass us and tell them if they're required, no insurance or criminals using them on a regular basis.
What's your favourite bit about the car?
It's nice, it's comfy and it's quiet.
Would you like one of those though?
They do look nice.
They do.
Okay, yes.
Thanks very much. We have the sirens on and everything.
Just hours to go till Lord Sugar & Co are back. A new batch of 16 candidates want a business partnership with him and his money in a new series of The Apprentice tonight at 9. Lessons learned by a dentist and his friend when they sink their teeth into property developing next on Homes Under the Hammer.